to the meeting, or the extraordinary meeting this evening, which includes recommendations from the Exeter Executive meeting held on the 28th of February 2022. Please be seated. We're going to have our chapter with us this evening, so I'm taking some male privilege and I'm going to read you a poem. It's called Days Golden. I have no home, but the day is golden. I have no home, but the day is golden. The sun is up, and I seldom felt colder. It's fine being alive some days. I once cried all day because I used the wrong toothbrush. I once cried all day because I used the wrong toothbrush. That was last week. I still feel senile and useless. I take it with a pinch, most days. Don't you dare be ashamed. All the courage in the world is what it takes to turn to a human being and say, I'm hanging by a thread, my friend, today. Someone I loved got so badly injured. Someone I loved got so badly injured. She wanted to die, and I could not convince her to try and hold on another day. So much can change with the snap of the heartstring. So much can change with the snap of the heartstring. I have sleepwalked so long, but now a new day is starting, and I welcome all that stands in my way. Don't you dare be ashamed. All the courage in the world is what it takes to turn to a human being and say, it's all hanging by a thread for me today. I have no home, but the day is golden. I have no home, but the day is golden. A life laid out like a clear blue ocean. If you listen, you can hear every wave. If you listen, you can hear every wave. Before we formally commence this evening's business, can I please remind all members of the following. Please remain focused on the topic being discussed. Please don't repeat points other councillors have made. Please avoid interrupting and respect the position of the Lord Mayor. Please indicate if possible by show of hand. I will call you as appropriate if you wish to speak in the debate. Please remember that this meeting is being recorded and will be uploaded onto the YouTube channel, so members of the public can still see and hear what is being said this night. May I also just advise you there's some Part 2 matters included on the agenda as part of the executive minutes, and it is recommended that we will vote to move into Part 2, when we will ask any public to leave and cease recording. For the continuity of the meeting, we have placed the executive minutes after we have dealt with all other business on the agenda. I can advise that we have received apologies from Councillor Hussain, Councillor Ledbetter, although I thought I saw him. No, I imagined it. So Councillor Hussain, Councillor Ledbetter, Councillor Jemima Moore, Councillor Bob Newby, Councillor Alice Martin, and Deputy Lord Mayor, Councillor Quance. I'm saddened to announce the death of former Exeter City Councillor Lee Mottram. He died at the weekend following a battle with cancer. He served as a Conservative councillor representing the Devon board from 2010 to 2015. His funeral will take place on Friday, the 18th of March at 12:30 at St Peter's Chapel at the Crematorium. His family has specifically said they will welcome anybody from Exeter City Council who would like to attend. So that's this Friday, next Friday, 18th of March at 12:30 at St Peter's Chapel at the Crematorium. I know you will wish to express your sincere condolences to Lee's family at this sad time, and are there any other members who wish to comment? Rachel?
Thank you, I don't know if any of the Conservatives want to speak first. Do you want to speak first? No, you sure, okay, thank you. Thank you, Lord Mayor. Yes, I would like to say a few words about Councillor Mottram. We were elected to Exeter City Council on the same day, in that strange 13 by-elections that happened in September 2010. Although I didn't actually meet Lee until a couple of weeks later because he just got married and he was actually on his honeymoon on election day. He served on scrutiny committees, and his comments and his questions, he brought his professional experience as a young entrepreneur with his own partner service business. And even when he was asking challenging questions to me and my colleagues, he always had a cheeky grin on his face. And back in the days when Twitter was a much more fun place, he once took great delight in posting a picture of an abandoned garden estate with a local labour poster on it, which he and his team found in the back of the garden they were working on. We suggested he might like to put the poster up on his van instead, but I don't think he did. And when my husband Paul died, Lee, like many of his colleagues, was kind and sympathetic. In fact, on the election count, when we elected Paul's successor, he told me that he agreed with you that his party should not put the candidate against our Labour candidate, which wasn't his party policy, and for that matter, it wasn't Labour party policy either. But it was a very heartfelt response, and I appreciated the kindness that he showed. And at the end of last year, he messaged me to send his condolences on the loss of Youth Edwards, and said how much he admired him and what a great man he was. And it's only a few years ago that Lee took part in a charity bike ride to Paris to raise funds for a cancer charity, which makes his loss at such a dreadfully young age even more sad. And I know that everybody will join me in sending heartfelt condolences to Kirsten, his wife, and to all of Lee's family and friends. Rest in peace.
Thank you, Councillor Sutton. Would anybody else like to say anything? No. I think you've covered what we all look for. Thank you, Rachel. This now brings us to the first item on the agenda, which offers the opportunity for members of the public to submit an advanced public question. I can confirm that we received a question from Mrs. Cynthia Thompson. Okay. As she is not present, Mr. Street will read the question on her behalf.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. The question is the Section 151 officer able to say how the intra-loans of any transfer of land made by Exeter City Council with private development companies, subsidiary private companies, are not perceived as a distribution of assets and, to date, what amount is owed to Exeter City Council by a private development company?
Thank you. The Legal Counsel, Councillor Bialik, is invited. I invite you now to respond to Mrs. Thompson's question.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Exeter City Living is a 100% wholly owned subsidiary of this council. Any transfer of land at an undervalue would increase the value of the investment in the company by that amount, thus not creating a distribution. From a corporation tax point of view, local authorities sit outside the corporation tax regime, and therefore this is not applicable. However, it is important to note two things. First, where land is sold at an undervalue, it is likely to need Secretary of State approval, as was the case for Clifton Hill. And there is a wider public benefit consideration. And finally, all loans are transacted using state and aid indicated rates of interest, and therefore there is no distribution of assets. The value of the debt outstanding is 8.926 million. Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Bialik. As Mrs. Thompson isn't in attendance, there is no supplementary. So that brings us to item 2 on our agenda, which relates to notices of motion from members in accordance with Government's Handling Order 6. I can confirm we have received notice of motion from Councillor Bialik, the details of which are set out on your agenda. Councillor Bialik, will you please read out your notice of motion?
Thank you, Lord Mayor. That Exeter stand in solidarity.
And maybe you want to read the first paragraph that discusses.
No, I'll be all right. With the people of Ukraine, the Council agreed immediately to suspend its civic relationship with Yaroslav. That it be noted that the leader of the Council will write to the Ukrainian ambassador in the United Kingdom offering a city support for the people of Ukraine in these difficult times. That it be noted that the leader of the Council has written to the Home Secretary advising her that Exeter has always been a city which welcomes refugees from all over the world in their hour of need, and it would support the acceptance of Ukrainian refugees and urges the UK government to consider an urgent review into the criteria to be applied to those Ukrainian citizens who are seeking asylum. Appropriate arrangements be made in cooperation with Inclusive Exeter to extend and engage support for the Ukrainian community in Exeter. Lord Mayor, I failed to read out the first bit, which is so important, is that this City Council condemns and cannot condone the actions of the Russian government in invading the independent sovereign state of Ukraine. This Council condemns all acts of aggression against any state, against another and its people. Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Bialik. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Hackett, thank you for seconding.
Can I read that one?
Yes, you can reserve your right to speak. Councillor Kevin Mitchell, I understand you have an amendment. Could you read that to us?
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I would like to add a further bullet point to the end of this which just says, Exeter City Council supports efforts within local government to divest from Russian investments or assets and will seek to encourage other local authorities to do so. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kevin Mitchell. Councillor Bialik, will you? Oh, is there a seconder for that amendment? Thank you, Councillor Moore. Councillor Bialik, will you, as mover of the motion, are you prepared to accept this amendment?
Yes, Lord Mayor, I am prepared to accept the amendment and accept it as part of the substantive motion. Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Thank you. In that case, Councillor Bialik, will you please now speak to the amended motion?
Thank you, Lord Mayor. And I apologise for my little bit of delay, but that can be excused for that.
No apology needed.
And so what's this motion about? We woke up 2 Fridays ago and found we just had to do something here in Exeter. We managed to scramble together rather quickly a fantastic vigil in the city centre, which many of you came, all parties came. I'm so pleased. Anne, I saw you there, many other people I didn't see, but I know you were there. It was a fantastic vigil of people coming together. It was quite heartwarming to see that. It wasn't tub-thumping, it wasn't warmongering. It was about thinking about the people in Ukraine, yet another people of the world being subjected to another invasion. I had the opportunity of speaking to Russians who attended the meeting, who were also members of the Twinning Association. I spoke to Peter Parker of the Twinning Association, all good people, all good people. And I've been at pains to try to advise people, if they want to listen, that this has got nothing to do with attacking the good people of Yaroslav, who many of us have all met on a number of occasions. They are so warming people, they are lovely people. I don't want to get into the politics, do they know about it or anything else like that, but we've got no angst with them. Our problem is with a regional and city arm of the Putin regime. And let's be brutally honest, it is. There is no way we can carry on any cordial civil relationship with them at this moment in time. And so it is, we laboured over it, the Chief Executive knows and other people know. I did wonder whether or not we should be doing this, but it became apparent. It became apparent, and it is now, that when innocent people are being bombed, I'm just one of many people. There are millions of people in this situation. I'm not special. It doesn't, you know, nothing special about me at all. As my two girls continue to remind me. Nothing special about me at all. And what I have to say, if I can, I've got a letter here from a resident in Hartford, Sidmouth, who took the time to write to me, offering up rooms and accommodation. I get several emails. Many of you guys would have most probably had emails. You know, I've got room in my house, I've got the house. You know, I mean, they want to help, and it's just fantastic over there. And if people are viewing this eventually on YouTube or wherever, I think I need to say thank you so much on behalf of Exeter, because it's been a fantastic response, and it's such a shame, that something as awful as this has crystallised the emotions of people in this country. And what we see is fantastic. As I've said, I've made no secret, and many people have said to me, we didn't know that about you. We didn't know. Well, there was no need to say anything about me. I'm a Devonian, I'm an Exonian. I have that heritage, and I'm proud of my father's heritage. And I think people coming forward has just been so good and been overwhelming. The amount of money collected, we collected, was it £200 on that occasion? People are giving money all the time, and we're trying to redirect the resources. Now, what I found was that there's a lot of Ukrainian people, and of course, you don't know. You just don't know who you're talking to or who's beside you. And they came, they were obviously worried about their families. They want that emotional support, which is something that this motion hopefully says we can do. We can get together. I would like them to see in with that excellent organisation that we've helped to support and are doing a fantastic job, Exeter Together, based in the Exeter Community Centre.
I don't feel really pleased about Exeter.
I think it is, yes, you can do it if that's
It's a
it.
similar named other organisation.
Yes, I think you could be right there. All I know is there's something like 8 or 9 communities involved there, and actually when they started, I did ask a few questions. Were there anybody from the Eastern European communities? And there wasn't. There wasn't, and that is basically because they're not connected. And so what I feel is that we should be trying to help them connect all of them. And I know Kate Hammond and that team, and I know it's your charity, please forgive me for that, I'll put a 5 in the bowl as a consequence of making that mistake. I will make sure that these people have somebody to talk to. Like a lot of people, in times of need, they become quite industrious, and they're working hard. Just a moment, if you can bear with me. Hannah and I have regular conversations with Basil and his family. He's a university professor in English, has a better diction and better understanding of the English language than me. And he's got more history on England than I would know. He goes all over the world, and he's proud of his country. He wants to stay in his country. His life is in his country. His children's life are in the country. They're invested in the country. They're proud of the country they live in. What What they want from us at this moment in time is some help. They are genuine war refugees. And just to say that he will be making a break for it with Svetlana, his wife. The rest of the family are staying. Kate, his daughter, with a 5-year-old child, made the decision to stay in Chernetsky with her husband who is fighting. And so he needs to get to the border. And this is how resilient we are. I'm sorry for all, but this is how resilient we are in this country. And I'm going to say it, I hope she don't mind. Emma Oswaldson of the YMCA. That's what she does in her spare time. I've seen the work that they've done, the building they've done, and what they do. I've been to the charity events, and she said, Phil, we've got contacts in all those countries. We can help you and other people. And all of a sudden, the emails are flying around, and there is support for my family as much as there is for everybody else. Meeting them at the border, to get them to a safe place, and Basil needs to get to the Netherlands with his son, who works for an agency within the United Nations. And then, hopefully, he'll be able to apply for a visa and come and stay with myself at my home. We will look after him for as long as they need to be protected from the war. And that's all we're asking. I said I won't get political because this is a humanitarian crisis. But part of the motion is making it perfectly clear. Government, you need to recognise that. You need to recognise that. You welcomed in my father in 1946. These people want refuge from this catastrophe. It is appalling what's happening. And you know what? When I see pictures of the people actually protesting in Ukraine against the Russian tanks that are in, and I saw a picture, I don't know if any of you, an old lady, she had a bag of shopping in one hand, banging the tank with the other. And I just thought to myself, my word, they are so proud of their country, and we need to support them as best we can. So, I really do feel compassion. It's a difficult situation. The geopolitics of it, I don't want to get into. I can tell you lots of stories about the famine that my father's family went through in the 1930s. 4 million people died. And all that, what happened during the Second World War, is being repeated in those people's minds. So, Lord Mayor, thank you for indulging me. I really am keen that we get that, keep those people working together with Inclusive Exeter to make sure that we can help. We haven't got the resources. There are signposts, we're signposting people on how you can support. The British Red Cross is the Ukrainian appeal. If you want to give money, other people say they want to go over there. Some people are going over there, but I thought that, but all I would be doing is getting in the way. Because they're very well organised. They're very well organised. And when they come to the border, they are dealing with them. It's a wonderful operation. And so, I'm so proud to be a citizen of Exeter, a citizen of this country, when people can react like this. And I'm also proud, because we all should be, wherever we go, however diverse we are, of our heritage, and we should never hide that, we should be proud of it. And so I hope, Lord Mayor, people will support this motion. And I'm going to ask, please make it unanimous, so we can send a message to the Ukraine community. And I hopefully I can show Basil the YouTube thing of it in coming days. I so move. Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Byron. I don't know if the Lord Mayor is allowed to make a point of clarification, John. Okay, and I think you spoke very well there, Phil, and you covered things. I would just add as a point of clarification that I think I'm right in understanding that the UK government is introducing a sponsorship scheme. And I know that Inclusive Exeter, like yourself, have received offers of accommodation from people, and that is one thing that they will be looking at with Exeter City Council, is how groups could be supported to bring people in under the sponsorship scheme. The details aren't available yet, but that is something that we'll be working in line with national government policy. And I will now move this to the debate. Councillor Packham has reserved the right to speak. Is there anybody else who wishes to speak? Amy? Councillor Sparling, who would like to speak first. Before you speak, let's just look at a few hands. I see Councillor Branston, Councillor Johnson, Councillor Kevin, Rachel. I think, Councillor Yolanda, so that's it for now. So if you would like to speak first, Councillor Sparling, please.
Thank you, Governor. And a huge thank you to Councillor Gillett for bringing this important motion to Council. It's vital that we, as a Council, show solidarity and support to the people of Ukraine. I'm going to attempt to not get emotional, but please bear with me. This is also important to me personally, as my partner's Ukrainian relatives are living this nightmare as we speak. Because from past happened about customers fled both and Soviet forces to the UK. As a refugee, when he met as a typewriter in Angela in Derby, the government should rethink its shameful and inhumane policy and understand how desperate this time is for Ukrainians and allow them and anyone fleeing to war and tyranny to stay refuge from the horrors they are experiencing, especially the young and vulnerable. They must understand that the Ukrainian people want more than anything to stay in their own country, in their own houses, sleep in their own beds. However, when their homes are suddenly plunged into a war zone, the option is taken away from them. It has been wonderful to see the support and community shown in Exeter, and this motion is an extension of that. We stand with Ukraine.
Thank you, Councillor Sparling. Councillor Branston, please.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. This is one of the most important motions this council will...
Excuse me, Councillor Branston, could you put your microphone on so we can hear you more clearly, please?
Great, sorry, I'll start again. Lord Mayor, this is one of the most important motions this council will debate. This council has a long history and tradition of working together on crucial issues, and I will encourage every member of this council to support this motion. Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Branston. Councillor Johnson, please.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Sorry about that. It's sadness that one supports such motions. It's something on guideline one never expected to see war declared by aggressive tyrants on people who are so proud of their country, what they have achieved in their heritage. Listening to the news reports, as I know them all do, it is harrowing to listen to them. It is difficult to imagine what it must be like living in such conditions. I did support the motion. It was a privilege to be able to attend the vigil for a short period of time last Sunday with other colleagues and you got there as well. And all of us will continue to be vigilant. Some of us have done already, will continue to press for a less bureaucratic regime from the Home Office. It is not good enough. We look back to things like kids transport in past generations. We need to be more flexible, more efficient, and more welcoming to people who are in a dark days at the moment. So I do support the motion. There's hope that some of this better news for this council needs to take.
Thank you, Councillor Dawson. Councillor Kelly.
Thank you, Lord Mayor, and also thank you to the Leader of Council for bringing this motion forward. I very much support this motion. At this time, it's vital that Exeter clearly states that we stand with the people of Ukraine. Exeter, as already been stated, always comes together when there's time of need. And this is one of those times where we all need to work together in the best interests of those that need our help. I've had the privilege of visiting Russia and also Ukraine. So I know both people there who are all incredibly friendly when I worked in a hospital. However, there does come a time when you do need to take a stand, and that's why this mission is so important. I've always believed that how we treat those in need is how we judge a civilized society. And therefore, it is vital that this country welcomes refugees. It is vital that we support them. And I will certainly be doing everything I can and working with others to achieve that. So thank you very much for bringing this forward.
Thank you, Councillor Kelly. Councillor Yolanda, please.
Lord, excuse that comes from my voice, I don't know.
If you took your microphone down towards you then, that's it.
Is that better?
Yeah.
I'm so sorry about my voice. My voice has gone down to my boots. To the leader, I certainly would support your legislation. How privileged you when you will have to watch the TV coverage and to watch such suffering. To do nothing when we have so much is absolutely appalling. I myself have been to the Afghanistan many times, and it's the majority of people over there. I don't think any of my house very well. But to be perfectly honest, we must support Ukraine because of the suffering of not only of the people, but to watch somebody who has fallen over a people path is just not acceptable. You are looking as if you're looking at film, and we thought this was past beyond any of us in this room. I can't remember the last war, but my mother used to tell me had feelings of, what went on. But no, we must not allow this to go on, and we must support the people of Ukraine. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hanson, for your impassioned speech. Does anybody else wish to speak? Councillor Williams and then Councillor Warren, please. Councillor Williams.
Yeah. I just wanted to say that we welcome Syrian refugees to Exeter. We welcome refugees from Afghanistan. Yes, there has been an awful lot of bureaucracy involved in that, and it continues, but Exeter has welcomed them, and we've been working in very close partnership with Devon Council and with many community groups, including Exeter. So let's welcome refugees from Ukraine as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Williams. Councillor Warren, please.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Lord Mayor, like Councillor Mitchell, I've also visited Russia. And I'd just like to say that I think it would be pertinent here to pay tribute to the thousands of Russian people who not only are putting their livelihoods but also their liberty at risk by protesting against this horrible and unjust war.
Thank you, Councillor Warren. Does anybody else wish to speak? Yeah, before I come to Councillor. Oh, Councillor Hamilton. Sorry, I didn't say.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. It was only yesterday in this chamber that I put questions down to say what could be done in perhaps the way around the refugees at the cabinet meeting. And as Councillor Williams has said, we're very keen to get in this place and work with the City Council to do everything we possibly can for the refugees. I do, I said in that meeting, and I'll say again, I think it's terribly shameful that the generosity of the British people and other countries in Europe in terms of access to peace has not so far been matched by our own government. And it's really has to change, and it has to change very fast. I mean, as we've all said, we've been shocked and horrified at what we've been seeing on our televisions. I wasn't personally shocked that Russia did invade because they started to invade in 2014, and this is just the next phase of it, but the velocity of it has just been staggering, quite frankly. And I think the decision that the leader has made in suspending our training, you could have argued, well, maybe we should have done this before, things have been happening, but it was much more complicated than that. I don't know if all members of this council know that actually Yaroslav and the people of Yaroslav were one of the only places in Russia to have elected a non-Putin person as their mayor some years ago, and they did, and so in many ways the people of Yaroslav have been reaching out beyond the Putin regime, in that way, because what happened was he got put into prison on charges of corruption. And I think it was 12.5 years before the chap got there, what Putin was actually then put one of his puppets in to do it. So I think the decision has, we are having to make it today, but I think it was always much more of a complicated decision because of the history of the outside. I think it was the second region in the whole of Russia that did not succumb to the Russia first authoritarian juggernaut that Putin is the head of. So I commend the leader. I think he has been most excellent and adequate throughout this crisis as the leader of the council. And clearly it's very difficult for him, but he's leading from the front and he's done an excellent job. And I know he will do everything he can through the City Council. We will all support him on whatever we can do for the people of Ukraine. Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Hamilton. Before we move to Councillor Backham, I will say that I am in contact with someone of Ukrainian heritage, born in Ukraine, now living in Canada, whose parents live in the UK, and he has passed many messages to me asking me to pass them on to Ben Bradshaw, which I have done, and he has been incredibly appreciative to know that Ben has received those and is on it. At this very moment, his aunt and uncle are trying to travel through Ukraine to the border, and outside this meeting I'll ask Councillor Yalek if there are any contacts that might help with that. My brother-in-law and wife also live in Poland, and they will drive into the border for supplies. That doesn't touch me in the way that it's an immediate council family member, and I commend both Councillor Yalek and Councillor Sparling for speaking. It was such an emotional time for them. I now going to pass on to Councillor Hannah Packham, who reserves the right to speak.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I just want to start by thanking Councillor Sparling for your contribution, your issue and your family, all the best. We will continue to support one another. So, I'm afraid I have a food test. So, Exeter stands in solidarity with the people of Ukraine, and I think we've demonstrated that this evening. So, thank you everyone for your contributions. And the people of Ukraine continue to defend their democracy and freedoms, standing together to defend their communities. And I think, as we would do in Exeter, I think it is appropriate in the knowledge of the illegal invasion and atrocities that Exeter suspends official and civic ties, links which cannot be portrayed or taken in any way as support for the murderous Putin regime. I think it's important to say that our hand of friendship and support for democracy and for all of those who advocate it spans all borders, and we recognise and praise the brave protests of the Russian people against invasion, war and atrocities, as risking their livelihoods and indeed their freedoms to do so. So I welcome the leader's letter to the Home Secretary, and I hope that this, along with so many appeals at home and abroad, ensures an immediate improvement in the government's response to refugees. Exeter, the UK, stands ready to embrace those fleeing from war and tyranny. I'm proud that Exeter, our city, is a city of sanctuary, and proud of the enormous outpouring of support to those fleeing Ukraine. I know that Inclusive Exeter will support Ukrainian friends and family, but not only the organisation of that name, but our city, Inclusive Exeter, the city of sanctuary. I urge the government to give us the ability to help as governments and ordinary people across Europe are doing so. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Councillor Pan. Councillor Bialy, would you like to sum up?
Yes, thank you. And, yeah, Amy, I got your email, thank you. And, yeah, any help that we can talk, sort it out, and, you know, I think your husband's dad came over at a certain time, welcomed in this country as a refugee, seeking asylum, supported. My father was very proud of Britain. Brought me up and my sisters up to say, this is where you are, you should be proud of your heritage here, and you must work within Exeter. And I like to think perhaps that many of us are examples of just like that. Richard, thank you very much. Anne, that was great. Thank you. I really appreciate that. And, you know, if ever you're doing some pro bono to assist some refugees, I'll be in touch with you. Yolanda, thank you very much for your kind remarks. And Ruth, you're also right, we are a city of sanctuary, we will continue to be. And we've been there. I've been in Bedford Square, not just on that issue, but many, many a time, supporting people who are oppressed, and will continue to do so. Steve, Warren, you're quite right. Thousands of people in Russia are running the gauntlet of up to 15 years in prison for just saying there's a war going on. For just saying there's a war. Outrageous. And we have to give support to those people to know that we are still behind them. They're running that gauntlet every day. Rob, you're right, thank you for those kind words, but you know, there's much to be done and we're going to do it. Just to say, the humanity shown in this room this evening is quite shocking, really. Because I think occasionally we may have your difference, but isn't it nice that we are in a democracy where we can have those differences, Lord Mayor, that we can have an argument about stuff, we can exchange views, we can differ, and we're always going to be able to do that. And all the Ukrainian people are saying, we want the right to be able to do that as well, and they're going to take that. So, Exeter stands with Ukraine, glory to Ukraine. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Bialy, and thank you, members. I now move to vote. Can all those in favour of the motion please show? Now. I think it's very obvious, John, that that is unanimous.
Indeed, all that is unanimous, yes.
Okay. That motion is clearly won, and I look forward to seeing support happening here as well. Thank you, members. That brings us to agenda item 3 on the agenda, which relates to questions from members in accordance with standing order 8. I can confirm that we have received a question from Councillor Diana Moore. Members, you have been sent a copy of this question separately. Due to the question relating to a Part 2 matter on the executive minutes, I recommend the question be taken during consideration of that part of the meeting. happy with that? Yeah, brilliant, okay. The next item of business on the agenda is the minutes of the executive held on 28th of February 2022. The legal staff minutes one by one, drawing particular attention to each and every recommendation so that members and the public are aware where decisions by full council need to be taken. An individual vote will then be taken on each recommendation for Executive Council. I now call on Councillor Garrick, as Chair of the Executive, to introduce the minutes of the Executive meeting held on 28th of February 2022, starting on page 3.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I wish to move the minutes, minute 33, minute 34, minute 35, minute 36, minute 37, Lord Mayor, is a resolved item which I'm happy to take into question. Thank you.
I've already seen, yes. Thank you, John. Councillor Devon, would you like to go ahead?
Thank you, Lord Mayor.
With your question.
If I could ask the council matter, I'd just like to bring the members' attention an error from the letter. The council is not upgrading Council Council homes to Council House standard. It's upgrading homes to VAS 2035 retrofit standard. Council House retrofit standard is known as benefit and it's not being refurbished to that standard. Hopefully, therefore, be willing to write and please correct this error. Thank you.
Would you like to answer that, Councillor Garrick?
Indeed, if the letter is incorrect, we will make sure it's corrected.
Thank you. Any other questions on the recommendations of matters? No? Okay.
Item 38, Lord Mayor, Pinhole Community Hub Business Proposal.
I'd like to declare an interest in trustee in her pub. Thank you.
I'll endeavour to remember to call you back in, Councillor Wood.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Lord Mayor, there are two recommendations that we note the contents of the business case and authorise officers to work with the community group to assess the viability of that business case, noting that any recommendations around SIL would return to the Executive and the Council for determination. Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Recommendations.
I so move.
So let's move. Do we have a seconder? Thank you. Right. Do you wish to speak now or reserve your right to speak? Reserve. You reserve your right. Okay. Thank you. We now open to the debate on this recommendation for minute number 38. If anybody wishes to speak in the debate, please indicate by show of hands. I see Councillor Johnson first, so we'll start with you, Councillor Johnson.
It's really a question for Councillor Garrick. I believe no reply to Councillor Medwester.
I have, Lord Mayor, and I was going to make reference to that question for completeness when I close.
Yes, sir, we have. Okay. Are there any other people who wish to speak? Councillor Harvey, please.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I just read the minutes very thoroughly, and it appears that I inadvertently been quoted as saying the executive that the Pinhole Community Hub Association have raised 3/4 of the plans. That isn't the case. They have promised that they will raise matching funding. They have not yet raised it. So I'd be grateful if the minutes could be amended to identify that. And whilst I'm speaking, I think it's important to note the other comment that's made there is that this is a community-driven project. This is not a project that has been decided in the city centre and then passed down to the community. We would like to do this. This project was derived from approaches made to the community and in particular the potential loss of the water facility in Pinhole thus depriving many people of the ability to access the library service. And if one saw the things, parent and toddler groups, so on and so forth, along with the number of other new homes which have been built in the area, and the fact that this community hub will give huge community benefit for all those individuals and those individuals' homes. This will be one of the best investments the council has made for a long, long time. Thank you.
Councillor Harvey, anybody else wish to speak? I take it you'll deal with Councillor Harvey's question on the subject of Councillor Devon. And in that case, I will ask you, Councillor Wright, to use your reserved right to speak. If you wish to.
I wait my right to speak.
Oh, wait a minute, so we'll ask Councillor Devon to sum up.
Okay, thank you, Lord Mayor. Indeed, I was hoping to speak to Councillor Mayor because I needed to understand the emphasis of where this question is going. Councillor Mayor asked, in the event of the hub not raising the money, would we be making it up? Now, I didn't know whether or not he was asking me to make it up under those circumstances, or don't you dare make it up under those circumstances. I made it clear to Councillor Ledbetter that the business case is still being discussed. We will go through it, make sure it's okay. No cheque for any amounts of money has been signed yet, but what the hub trustees wanted from us was a letter saying that we are prepared to do this, so they can go to their fundraisers. They will be shaking a tin in many places, but you've got to shake a lot of tins to get that much money. They've got some big organisations who will make investments, but they needed a letter of comfort from us, effectively, to say that we will give this under the circumstances, so they can get these organisations to commit to that share of the money. Now, what happens if it doesn't? Well, at this moment in time, I'm not saying we will, I'm not saying we won't, I don't know. We will sit down with the appropriate people, but I can tell you now how I will be looking at it. Is there a need in that community for a facility such as this? Does this need fit our strategic values and what we want to do? Is this what the community needs? Bearing in mind all our values and what we want to do. We will have to make a decision, and we will bring that decision. Let's just say we're going to. We will bring it back to you, and if we are not, it will also come back to the executive and to council. So I'm always happy to look over that edge of the cliff. Let's wait and see. Let's give that community a chance. Let's give them a chance. Let's not knock them back before they've even got going. I want to support them. They've got a lot of housing in that area, and we need to help rebuild that community's what I would call social and community structure, and this is a way of doing it. They've assured me that it is far-reaching, it's sustainable, and now the officers will now get into it. Well, the other question, as the Mayor asked me, was who owns the existing library land? Now, I'm not totally sure. I've asked Mike Carson to find out, and he will come back to me, and as soon as he tells me, I will let Councillor Ledbetter know. So, there you go, it's a politician's answer. But let's wait and see. I want to make sure that that community, and I think my group would support us in doing that, to make sure that the residents of Penpower have a decent facility that they can use where there is a need. Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Bjorn. Can I take the step that that answer includes that you will make correction of David Harvey?
Sorry, Lord Mayor, the only place that amendment the minutes can be made is at the next executive meeting itself. So that will be raised at the next executive, and then it will be amended at that meeting itself.
Okay, happy with that, Councillor Harvey? Okay, thank you everybody. We will now move to the vote. So all those in favour, please show.
23, Lord Mayor.
Thank you, John. All those against, please show.
None.
None. Good. Any abstentions? 6. Okay. That vote is clearly carried. Yes, Councillor Ward, how do we get him back? Thank you, Mark. We will wait till he comes back. I don't know, twiddle our thumbs, do you like or not, like that, as soon as it's on. Here it is. Okay, the next 3 minutes. Yeah, the next 3 minutes, starting at minute number 39. No? 39. Yeah. So, have we covered minute number 39 yet, Councillor Geller?
Yes, no, sorry, I've got to minute 39, which is a resolved matter.
Any questions? No, right, that's a resolved matter. So now we will go on to the next 3 minutes, which are considered to contain exempt information, and it is recommended that we move the meeting into part 2 for debate on any of those items. We need to remind members that an objection was received in relation to items number 10 and 11, minutes 42 and 43, being considered under part 2. Members should have regard to the representations made in the Council's written response as set out in the Executive Agenda dated 28th February 2022 when making a decision as to whether or not to move to part 2. Do we have a proposer to move the meeting into part 2?
Lord Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Bialik. Do we have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Wright. Okay, we'll vote on that. Please, all those in favour of moving to part 2, raise your hands now. Thank you. Any against moving to part 2?
5.
And any abstentions? And so, right, that is clearly in favour, and that motion to move, recommendation to move to part 2 is clearly carried. So I declare the meeting to be moved